Caught in the act, I overheard my wife's shocking plan to make me jealous. It was a Thursday evening, the kind where the golden light of the setting sun drenched the kitchen in warm hues, making everything feel deceptively serene. I was just about to pour myself a glass of scotch when I heard her voice float through the open window, punctuated by the laughter of her friends. My wife, Rachel, 32, an advertising executive with a sharp mind and an even sharper tongue, had been unusually chipper lately. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt that way about us. I had been distracted for weeks, drowning in the demands of my job as a project manager at a construction firm. Between the stress of tight deadlines and balancing my team's morale, I often came home too drained to notice the subtle shifts in Rachel's demeanor. Maybe I was just too naive, too caught up in the day-to-day grind to see the signs right in front of me. But that evening, I didn't have to search for them. They came rushing in through my wife's casual banter. Leaning against the kitchen counter, I froze, the whiskey glass hovering mid-air. "You're really going to go through with it?" Her friend, Megan, chimed in, her voice laced with disbelief. "What if he finds out?" "Please, he's so oblivious," Rachel scoffed, her tone dripping with disdain. "I'll just tell him it's a girls' night out and send him a few flirty texts from another guy's phone. He'll be seething with jealousy before he even realizes what's happening." The moment those words hit my ears, my heart sank. Jealousy? A plan to make me feel less than worthy? I wanted to burst through that door and confront her, but I knew that would give her exactly what she wanted. She had unwittingly handed me the keys to a game I didn't even know we were playing. As her laughter danced through the air, a sinister realization settled in my gut. This was bigger than I had ever imagined. Rachel had always been one to enjoy a bit of drama, whether it was the latest gossip at the office or stirring up petty arguments at home just to feel alive. But this was different. This was deceit wrapped in a glossy package of deceitful charm. My heart raced with a mix of anger and disbelief. I couldn't let this stand. I had to flip the script on her. She thought she could toy with my emotions like a child with a doll, but she clearly underestimated my resolve. The thought of her running around with some random guy, all to get a rise out of me, ignited a flame of fury within me. I envisioned her giggling, flushed with excitement, while I sat at home, totally oblivious, while my life fell apart around me. But that was the thing about Rachel. She thought she was the mastermind, the puppet master in our little drama, pulling the strings while I sat idly by, too focused on work to see her machinations for what they were. But what she didn't know was that I was about to take control of the narrative. I could feel my mind churning, plotting an outrageous revenge that would leave her feeling not just humiliated but utterly defeated. As the laughter faded and the conversation turned to softer murmurs, I quietly made my way to the living room, my heart racing with a newfound determination. I had overheard enough to craft my own master plan. A scheme so brilliant, so intricately woven, it would send shockwaves through our marriage and leave Rachel questioning every decision she had made. That night, as Rachel sashayed through the door, wearing that smug little smile that I had once found endearing, I couldn't help but suppress a smirk of my own. She had no idea that the tables were about to turn, that the very jealousy she sought to invoke would become her own undoing. The game was on, and I was ready to play my hand. The stage was set, and in the ensuing drama, I would not just be a player, I would be the director of this chaotic masterpiece. The clock ticked mercilessly as I sat in the dim light of the living room, waiting for Rachel to finish her girls' night out. She had barely looked my way when she got home, a fact that felt like a slap in the face. A month ago, we were intimate, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss that connection. But that was before I discovered her twisted game. Rachel was always the life of the party, charismatic and captivating, but lately, her allure felt tinged with something darker. She would leave for work events only to return hours later, reeking of expensive perfume and laughter that didn't quite reach her eyes. I should have noticed the signs, but my focus had been elsewhere, on meetings and deadlines, not on the woman who had vowed to love me for better or worse. As I stewed in my thoughts, I could almost hear the echoes of that evening's conversation replaying in my mind. The laughter, the scheming, it all felt surreal. I decided to go back in time, to sift through the moments leading up to this outrageous betrayal. I needed to remind myself just how deep the roots of this deception ran. The first flashback came rushing back, a memory from just 2 weeks earlier. Rachel had come home late one night, a little too cheerful, her hair tousled, and her cheeks flushed. She claimed she'd been out with Megan and some colleagues from her office, but something felt off. I'd asked her about her evening, hoping for more than the vague reply she gave me. Just the usual, drinks, laughter, a bit of work gossip, she said, avoiding eye contact. I had shrugged it off, attributing it to the pressures of her high-stakes job in advertising. You know how it is, she added with a dismissive wave of her hand. But it was that dismissive tone that gnawed at me. The twist came shortly after. Just days later, while I was at the gym, I overheard two of her co-workers discussing her. "Did you see Rachel last night? She was all over that guy from accounting. I thought her husband was supposed to be there," one of them whispered, their voices barely rising above the thump of the treadmill. My heart dropped, and a wave of nausea hit me. I wanted to confront Rachel right then and there, but I couldn't. I was stuck in my mind, conflicted about whether this was just idle office gossip or something more. But the doubt had been planted, festering like a sore wound. As I pulled myself back to the present, it became clear Rachel was not just playing a game, she was flirting with the edge of infidelity. My mind raced. How could she do this? Did she think I was blind to her escapades? She was clearly caught up in some twisted fantasy, thinking that I would respond to her provocations with jealousy instead of action. That evening as we sat across from each other at the dinner table, I studied her face closely, the way her lips curled around her fork, the way she tossed her hair over her shoulder. She seemed utterly unaware of the storm brewing in my heart. "Did you have fun tonight?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light, masking the whirlwind of emotions churning inside me. "Oh, it was great," she beamed, a little too bright, a little too forced. "You should have come. I missed you." "Missed me?" I fought to suppress a scoff, knowing that tonight she had just been plotting my emotional demise with her friends. Instead, I simply nodded, feeling the tension of our conversation like a taut string ready to snap. But then came the twist, the moment that ignited my resolve. As Rachel casually mentioned a cute guy at the bar, I noticed a subtle change in her demeanor. Her phone buzzed on the table, drawing her attention. She picked it up and, with a mischievous glint in her eye, typed away. "Is that someone you met tonight?" I asked, the words escaping before I could censor them. She looked up, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Just a guy from work. He's harmless." Harmless, I thought, the irony stinging. As she laughed at whatever text she was reading, I knew that I couldn't sit idly by any longer. This wasn't just a light-hearted game, this was a declaration of war. I had a decision to make. Rachel thought she could toy with my emotions, but I would show her that I was not just a player in her little drama. I could write my own script. And my revenge would be so outrageous, so cunning, that it would leave her gasping for breath, caught in the very web she had spun for me. I could feel the pieces falling into place as I plotted my next move. The darkness of betrayal would not go unanswered, it would be met with a storm of my own making. I was no longer the oblivious husband in her twisted game, I was the architect of my own revenge. The night felt electric, charged with the energy of impending chaos. I spent the next few days mapping out my revenge plan, a game of chess in which I would be several moves ahead of Rachel. As I scribbled my ideas in a notebook, the thrill of crafting this intricate scheme ignited a fire in me that I hadn't felt in ages. I was determined to turn the tables and leave Rachel reeling from the consequences of her own actions. Step 1: Create a decoy. I had to ensure that Rachel believed I was completely oblivious to her scheming. I couldn't let her catch on, so I decided to put on a show, one that would have her convinced I was distracted by work and other life stressors. The more she thought she could get away with her plan, the better. I reached out to my old friend, Nick, a local bartender who had always been a bit of a ladies' man. He was perfect for this role. After a few drinks at the bar one night, I laid out the situation. "I need your help, man. Rachel's planning to cheat on me to make me jealous. I need you to flirt with me when she's around, really turn on the charm." Nick laughed, slapping me on the back. "You want me to play the role of the bad guy? Count me in. Just give me a heads up when you need me to show up." Step 2: Stage the encounter. With Nick on board, I crafted the perfect scenario to provoke Rachel's jealousy. I planned a casual get-together with friends at the bar where Nick worked, knowing that Rachel would likely want to join in. My goal was simple: I'd make it seem like I was enjoying the company of a flirtatious bartender, Nick, who would give her plenty of reason to feel insecure. The day of the event arrived, and I found myself oddly excited. I picked out an outfit that would accentuate my physique, a fitted shirt that hugged my arms and a pair of jeans that showcased my confidence. When Rachel walked through the bar doors, she was radiant, dressed in a sleek black dress that hugged her curves in all the right places. She scanned the crowd, a smirk forming on her lips as she spotted me at the bar with Nick. I greeted her with an easy smile, but the real performance was about to begin. Nick, spotting her, launched into his role with enthusiasm. "Hey, handsome, are you ready for another round?" He leaned closer to me, his voice low and playful, allowing Rachel to hear every word. I grinned at him, pretending to flirt back. "You know I always am," I exaggerated, giving Nick a playful shove. Rachel's eyes narrowed, the tension palpable. I could see the wheels turning in her mind as she processed what was happening before her. The evening unfolded in a chaotic mix of laughter and drinks, with Nick effortless drawing my wife's attention. I could see her discomfort grow with every playful jab we exchanged, every flirtatious glance he shot my way. My heart raced with adrenaline, not from anxiety, but from the exhilarating power of pulling the strings on this dramatic production. As the night wore on, I ensured to lean into Nick's charm, letting my laughter flow a bit too freely. I even pretended to share personal jokes with him that would make it seem like we had a secret connection, one that was entirely fabricated but felt all too real in the moment. Rachel was now fully ensnared in the trap I had set. Step 3: let it all unravel. As the clock ticked towards midnight, I could see the walls closing in on Rachel. The more she watched me engage with Nick, the more I felt her anger and frustration boiling just beneath the surface. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Rachel could no longer contain herself. "Can we talk?" she snapped, her voice laced with irritation. I raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence as I turned to Nick. "I'll catch you later, man," I said, keeping my tone light. I followed Rachel outside, where the cool night air hit me, amplifying the tension between us. "What the hell was that?" she demanded, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "Oh, come on, Rach. It was just some harmless fun," I said, leaning against the wall, doing my best to appear nonchalant. "You're the one who wanted me to loosen up, remember?" She scoffed, clearly furious. "You think it's funny? You think I won't find someone better?" At that moment, her anger morphed into something unexpected, a hint of desperation. "You can't just flirt with every girl you meet, Josh. What are you trying to prove?" Her words felt like a twisted reflection of her own actions, and the realization hit me like a freight train. Twist the revelation. Just as I thought I had her cornered, Rachel dropped a bombshell. "You're not the only one who knows how to play games, you know. I heard Nick talking to someone at the bar last week. He said you were boring, and he'd bet I could have him wrapped around my finger before you even noticed." The shock of her admission left me momentarily speechless. It seemed Rachel had been paying attention more than I had realized, and she was using my own game against me. But little did she know, this was all part of my master plan. Her words only fueled my desire to see this through. As I leaned back against the wall, my mind raced with ideas, but the look in Rachel's eyes told me this was just the beginning of an explosive showdown. If she thought she could outsmart me, she was in for a rude awakening. With that thought in mind, I felt a surge of determination. The stage was set, and the next act would be even more outrageous than I had planned. It was time to take this game to a whole new level. I was ready to show Rachel that the script could be flipped even further than she had ever imagined. The air crackled with tension as Rachel and I stood outside the bar, the dim lights casting long shadows that mirrored the darkening clouds of betrayal hovering over our heads. My heart raced with adrenaline, each beat echoing the thrill of what was about to unfold. It was time for the climax of this twisted drama. My revenge was about to play out in spectacular fashion. The showdown begins. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts as Rachel continued her tirade. "You think this is a game, Josh? I can't believe you'd stoop so low." She was fuming now, and I could see the fury in her eyes, a mixture of anger and insecurity that only fueled my resolve. "Games? Rach, you started this. You're the one who thought you could make me jealous by flirting with someone else," I shot back, my tone deceptively calm. "I'm just playing the part you wrote for me. If you want to see how it feels to be on the other side of this, let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes." Her eyes widened in surprise, but before she could respond, I put my plan into motion. "You want to know why I was flirting with Nick? Because he's not just a bartender, he's someone who understands the game. And you've underestimated me for the last time." As I turned to walk back into the bar, I felt a thrill of empowerment. I knew Rachel would follow, her curiosity piqued by the challenge in my voice. Sure enough, I felt her presence close behind me, seething with indignation and confusion. The moment of truth. Inside, the bar pulsed with life, laughter mingling with clinking glasses. Nick was right where I wanted him, chatting up a group of women while pretending to work, his eyes occasionally darting my way. I made my way over to him, a confident smile plastered on my face as I leaned casually against the bar. "Hey, Nick, you busy?" I called out, my voice ringing above the noise. He turned, a grin spreading across his face. "Not at all, just enjoying the view." His gaze flickered to Rachel, and I could see him suppressing a chuckle. With a flick of my wrist, I gestured for him to come closer. "I need your help with something," I said, lowering my voice conspiratorially, though I knew Rachel could hear every word. "Sure, what's up?" Nick replied, leaning in with a knowing glint in his eyes. "Let's give my wife a little show," I said, a devilish grin creeping onto my face. Make it look like I'm completely infatuated with you. Think you can do that? Nick chuckled, the intrigue evident in his expression. Oh, I can definitely play that role. The betrayal unfolds. Rachel, standing a few feet away, couldn't contain her frustration any longer. Are you serious? You're actually going to go through with this? Her voice trembled, a mix of anger and disbelief as she confronted me. Why not? You've shown me exactly how to play this game, Ratch, I replied, my voice steady. If you want to play with fire, I'll be the one who lights the match. With that, I turned my attention back to Nick, who was now fully engaged in the act. You know, I was just telling Rachel about the incredible time we had last week, I said, raising my voice a notch, ensuring Rachel could hear every word. You're not just a bartender, you're the life of the party. I'd love to grab a drink with you sometime, just the two of us. Rachel's expression twisted into a mixture of anger and betrayal, and I savored the moment. I could feel her heart racing from across the bar, and the thrill of her discomfort was intoxicating. Nick played his part flawlessly, leaning in closer to me, his tone playful. I'd love that, man. Let's have some fun, just us two. The reckoning. It didn't take long for Rachel to snap. She marched over, her cheeks flushed with rage. You think this is funny? She spat, eyes blazing with fury. You think I care if you flirt with him? I'm not the one playing games here. I could see the cracks forming in her facade, the confidence she had displayed earlier eroding as the reality of the situation hit her. You think this is a joke, Josh? You're making a fool of yourself. Am I? I shot back, feeling emboldened. Maybe you're the one who underestimated me. If you think I'd sit back and let you play your little games without a response, you clearly don't know me at all. The bar had begun to notice the escalating tension, with patrons stealing glances, their curiosity piqued. This was becoming a spectacle, and I was all too happy to provide the entertainment. Tell me, Rachel, I continued, leaning closer, relishing the moment. How does it feel to be on the receiving end of your own plan? Do you like the taste of your own medicine? She opened her mouth to respond, but I could see the realization dawning on her. She was trapped in a web of her own making, and I had outsmarted her at every turn. The anger that had fueled her now gave way to confusion and fear, and it was a sight to behold. The fallout. As the tension reached its peak, Rachel took a step back, her demeanor shifting from defiance to vulnerability. You're really going to do this? You think you can just replace me? Her voice cracked, the bravado slipping away like sand through her fingers. I shook my head slowly, feeling a pang of something akin to sympathy. This isn't about replacing you, Rachel. This is about teaching you a lesson. You can't just trample over our relationship because you want to play mind games. If you want to treat our marriage like a game, then let's play. As the realization of her own recklessness washed over her, I could see the shift in her expression. The defiance was replaced by a flicker of regret, the understanding that she had gone too far. As Nick watched the exchange with amusement, I felt a surge of satisfaction. I had turned the tables, and Rachel's grand scheme had collapsed spectacularly. The bar was now buzzing with whispers, the audience eager for the next act in this outrageous drama. Rachel stood there, her confidence shattered, while I reveled in my triumph. The night had transformed from a simple gathering to a chaotic confrontation, and I was ready to watch it all unfold into the fallout of betrayal. This was only the beginning, and as Rachel faced the consequences of her actions, I prepared myself for the final act, the aftermath of our shattered relationship. I was ready to deliver the closing scene in this drama, one that would leave both of us changed forever. The bar buzzed with energy as whispers spread through the crowd, eager to dissect the explosive confrontation they had just witnessed. I stood at the center of the storm, adrenaline still coursing through my veins as I watched Rachel's expression morph from fury to humiliation. The once dominant queen of our twisted game now looked like a pawn caught in a trap of her own making. The silence after the storm. As the tension began to dissipate, Rachel's shoulders slumped, and I could see the fight leaving her. She glanced around, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment as curious eyes watched her every move. I stepped closer, my heart pounding, not from fear, but from the thrill of having wrested control back into my hands. Rachel, I began, my voice low but firm, this is what happens when you underestimate me. You thought you could pull a fast one and make me jealous, but look at where we are now. I didn't just flirt, I made you confront the reality of your actions. Her eyes flared with anger once more. You think this is a victory for you? You've made a fool out of yourself. But her words lacked conviction, the bite of her earlier defiance fading into a desperate attempt to reclaim her pride. No, Ratch, I replied, shaking my head. You're the one who turned this into a competition. I simply played along. You wanted to make me jealous, but all you did was reveal your own insecurities. I'm not the one who's come out looking foolish here. Her silence spoke volumes. The weight of the moment pressed down on both of us as the reality settled in. This wasn't just about jealousy or revenge anymore, it was about the cracks that had formed in our marriage, the underlying issues that had been festering beneath the surface for far too long. Facing the truth, the bar was starting to clear out, patterns drifting away, leaving behind a lingering tension. Rachel's expression softened as she took a step back, her defenses crumbling. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I felt a pang of something resembling empathy. Beneath the anger and betrayal, I could see the remorse in her eyes. Then what did you mean, Rachel? What were you hoping to accomplish? She hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. I wanted you to pay attention to me. I wanted you to care again. The honesty in her confession stung more than I expected. In her twisted attempt to reignite our relationship, she had nearly burned it to the ground. You could have just talked to me, Rach. Instead, you chose to play games. The air was thick with unresolved feelings, and I sensed that we were at a crossroads. This could either lead us back to a place of understanding or push us further apart. The final showdown. As we stood facing each other, the weight of our situation became undeniable. I realized that if we were going to confront the truth of our relationship, we needed to do it together. I'm not proud of what I did tonight, I said, my tone softer. But neither are you. If we're going to salvage this, we need to be honest about our feelings, about everything. No more games. Rachel's eyes met mine, a mixture of vulnerability and determination shining through. I know I messed up, and I'm sorry, but I need you to understand that I felt like we were drifting apart. I thought maybe if I stirred things up, it would wake you up. The confession hung heavy between us, and I couldn't help but reflect on my own shortcomings. I didn't realize how much we needed to reconnect either. I've been so caught up in my own world that I neglected us. For the first time that night, there was a flicker of hope in the air, a glimmer of possibility. Rebuilding trust. We stood in the dim light of the bar, the remnants of our explosive confrontation fading into the background. I took a deep breath, feeling the tension in my shoulders ease slightly. So where do we go from here? I asked, genuinely curious about her thoughts. I think we need to start over, she said, her voice steady now. No more games, no more jealousy, just us. We can't keep tearing each other down if we want to rebuild. The sincerity in her words struck a chord within me. I nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. I agree. Let's take this as a wake-up call. We can't ignore what's been happening between us anymore. With that, we stepped outside into the cool night air, leaving behind the chaos of the bar. As we walked side by side, I could feel the distance between us beginning to close. It wouldn't be easy, and the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but at least we were both willing to face them. The road ahead. Over the next few weeks, we made a conscious effort to reconnect. We started having honest conversations about our feelings, our needs, and the issues that had driven us apart. It wasn't a quick fix, it required vulnerability, patience, and a lot of hard work. But as we navigated through the aftermath of that fateful night, I realized something profound. Sometimes, it takes a disaster to bring two people closer together. Rachel and I had survived the storm, and though the scars would remain, they served as reminders of our journey. We had faced our demons, and in doing so, we had forged a stronger bond, a testament to our commitment to one another. As we moved forward, I knew that while jealousy and games had threatened to tear us apart, the power of honesty and understanding could ultimately lead us back to each other. Together, we were ready to write a new chapter, one that would be filled with trust, love, and a deeper appreciation for the fragile nature of our connection. In the end, we had flipped the script, and it turned out to be the best plot twist of all.